Borrowing arrows with straw boats. This is one of my favorite stories all time. Be ready and enjoy. A long time ago, during the Three Kingdoms period in ancient China, there was a very clever man named Zhuge Liang. He was so smart that people called him a living genius. He could make plans that always worked, like magic. In those days, wars were not just about swords and horses, they were also about clever tricks, and Liang was the king of clever tricks. One day, General Yu from the kingdom of Wu came to Liang and said, "Hey, we need 100,000 arrows in just 3 days for our battle. Can you handle that?" Yu didn't actually want Liang to succeed. In fact, he was jealous of Liang's brainpower. Yu was thinking, let's give him an impossible task. No one can make 100,000 arrows in just 3 days. That could possibly give me a good reason to kill him, so that I will become the smartest person in the kingdoms. But Liang just smiled and said, "Of course. 3 days is more than enough." Yu raised his eyebrows. "Really? You sure?" "Yes, just prepare 20 large boats for me. Put some straw men on them, cover the boats with black cloth, and give me 600 soldiers. No one needs to bring a single arrow or even a bow. I'll handle the rest." Yu was suspicious but curious. "All right, let's see what trick you've got." Day 1, Liang started preparing. He didn't build any arrow-making workshops. He didn't even call blacksmiths. Instead, he had workers stuff bundles of straw into shapes that looked like people and tied them to the boats like scarecrows. The boats looked like they were full of soldiers, but they were just full of straw dummies. Even the soldiers, helping him, whispered, "Is Master Liang feeling okay? What are we doing here, and for what?" Meanwhile, Yu peeked from the distance and laughed, making scarecrows. Is he playing or preparing for war? But Liang didn't seem worried at all. Day 2, Liang rested and watched the sky. His assistants asked, "Sir, shouldn't we hurry? The deadline is almost here." Liang shook his fan slowly and said, "Be patient. Timing is everything." And sure enough, that night, thick fog rolled across the river. The moon disappeared, and you could barely see your own hands. That's when Liang stood up and said it's time. Liang ordered his 20 straw-filled boats to line up side by side and float toward the enemy. General Cao's military camp across the river. The boats moved quietly, wrapped in fog, with drums lightly beating. The enemy camp heard the sounds, but couldn't see clearly, and they panicked. "General, we're under attack," reported from one of Wei's soldiers. General Cao ran out and squinted into the fog. "Who's there?" All he could see were big dark shapes floating toward them. The scarecrow silhouettes looked like soldiers ready to invade. "Archers," Cao shouted. "Fire arrows. Don't let them get close." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands and thousands of arrows flew through the sky like black rain. The arrows hit the straw soldiers again and again, sticking into the straw like porcupine spines. The fog was too thick for General Cao's army to see that no one was actually on the boats. After a while, one of Cao's advisors said, "General, something feels off. These boats aren't even fighting back." But by then, it was too late. The boats were turning around and floating back down river. Day 3, Liang stood at the front of the lead boat, smiling and waving his fan. His boats looked ridiculous, that each one covered with so many arrows, they looked like hedgehogs. By the time they returned to camp, the soldiers carefully pulled out the arrows and counted them. 30,000, 60,000, 90,000, 102,000. Everyone's jaws dropped. Yu almost fell off his chair when he heard the news. What? He actually did it. Liang handed over the arrows with a calm face. "Here are your 100,000 arrows. As promised, and on time." Yu forced a smile and bowed. "Master Liang, your plan was quite impressive." Liang replied with a wink, "Thank God, the fog appeared as I predicted." And that's how Liang borrowed 100,000 arrows without making a single one. He didn't need factories or fire, just a foggy night, some straw dummies, and a clever idea. From then on, what happened there became a legendary wise story in ancient China. It means using strategy and timing to get what you need, especially if you can do it using someone else's effort or resources. Just like borrowing arrows with straw boats. Here's a modern example having the similar idea. Let's say you forgot your art supplies for a big school project. Instead of panicking, you ask 3 classmates to each lend you a color marker. You end up finishing your whole project using their markers, and of course they're happy to help. That's kind of like your own modern version of borrowing arrows. Here's another modern story relevant to our story today. Let's say Anna wants to host a gathering at her house, but she forgot to buy any food. She asks each member from the party invites to bring some of their own food. Well, in North America, we call this potluck. However, Anna prepared her dining room and got a lot different kinds of beverages for her guests. Everyone at the party were happy because there were plenty of food and Anna's place was really nice, voila. But remember, Liang wasn't lazy. He was smart, calm and prepared. He paid attention to timing, weather, and people's minds. His trick only worked because he thought carefully and acted wisely. So next time you're in a tough situation, don't panic. Think like Liang. Sometimes, the cleverest way is not to fight harder, but to think smarter. When even the fog can help you, you know you will succeed. The end.